Welcome to The Explainer. Look, today we're going to completely dismantle the idea that security is just about physical borders and military defense. We're going to explore a framework that impacts your life every single day in ways you probably haven't even realized. Security is essentially this massive, invisible web holding our entire modern lives together. And I promise you, by the end of this, you're going to see your own vulnerabilities and your protections in a completely new light.
So honestly, when you hear the word security, what's the very first thing that pops into your head? Let me guess. Guns, padlocks, maybe a massive bank vault, or troops massing at a border? It makes sense, but today we're really going to challenge that mental image. We're breaking down a fascinating source text that completely reshapes how we need to look at safety and vulnerabilities in the modern world.
Here is our roadmap for The Explainer. We're going to logically unpack this massive concept from the micro right up to the macro level. We'll hit 1, redefining security. Then 2, the evolution of security. Zoom in for 3, individual and human security. Zoom out for 4, systems, states, and infrastructure. And finally, wrap it all up with 5, global and transnational security.
All right, Section 1, redefining security. It is officially time to reevaluate the core meaning of this word.
Okay, let's dive right in with 2 absolute powerhouse questions from our source. Security for whom? And security for which values? You see, the whole idea of what makes up security is actually entirely relative. I mean, it could be for the state, sure, but it could also be for the individual, literally for you and me. And the values we're protecting, they aren't just about physical safety anymore. We're talking about economic welfare, personal autonomy, and even psychological well-being. Think about it. Security isn't just about surviving. It fundamentally means getting freedom from any threat that prevents you from actually living, whether that's sudden financial ruin or just the crushing anxiety of a collapsing social safety net.
And that brings us to a real game changer, comprehensive security. This is the overarching modern framework connecting every aspect of our daily lives. It's a multidimensional strategy. It moves way, way beyond just protecting territory. It requires safeguarding individuals, communities, and whole nations by ensuring stability across economic, environmental, health, social, and political domains. We're talking about all these areas working together in perfect harmony. Because if just one of those domains fractures, well, the whole system is suddenly at risk.
Moving on to Section 2, the evolution of security. How exactly did we shift from traditional defense to this comprehensive view?
To really understand the shift, we have to contrast the old-school view with the new. Traditionally, the approach was intensely military-focused, safety from external attack and physical infiltration, right? You build a bigger wall, you buy more tanks, boom, you're more secure. But the non-traditional approach? It totally flips the script. This theory exposes the massive multiplicity of threats we actually face. It argues that the physical environment, economic conditions, and social indicators are just as critical to our survival as a strong military. I mean, let's be real, an army cannot fight off a supply chain collapse or a sudden global recession.
At its core, this modern playbook operates on 2 really actionable levels. First, you've got preventive measures. These are the proactive steps to identify and mitigate risks way before they escalate. Second, responsive measures, basically how we manage and recover when breaches actually do happen. Actually, think of it a bit like medicine. Modern frameworks acknowledge that it is so much better to have preventative, integrated responses in place before disaster strikes, rather than just scrambling to do damage control after the fact. So the absolute crucial takeaway here is this massive shift toward prevention.
Section 3, individual and human security. Let's zoom right into the micro level and look at the first major bucket of the 16 distinct types of security.
What's absolutely fascinating here is how this concept shows security starting directly with your most basic individual rights. First up, human security. This flips things to a people-centered focus, rather than just obsessing over the state. Within that, personal security ensures your freedom from fear and violence. But honestly, that means very little without political security to guarantee your fundamental rights against state repression. And then there's economic security, which ensures a basic income and a roof over your head. They are so deeply intertwined. A failure in economic security can almost instantly jeopardize your personal security.
Staying at that individual level, our very survival rests on some core physiological pillars. Food security means having reliable physical and economic access to healthy nutrition. In fact, our source notes the UN considers food security a central indicator of absolute poverty and physical well-being. It's the baseline, period. Then there's water security, which isn't just about having water, but having reliable availability and quality for both health and production. And health security. This addresses massive public health threats, from pandemics to bioterrorism defense. If a person lacks these, they are fundamentally insecure. It doesn't matter how powerful their country's military is.
Okay, Section 4. Systems, states, and infrastructure. We're zooming out from the individual to the underlying systems that keep society running.
State protection has evolved, big time. Today, a concrete barrier and a digital firewall, they're basically two sides of the exact same coin. You've got physical security, safeguarding tangible assets, and national security protecting sovereignty from external threats. But right alongside them, and arguably just as critical now, you have cybersecurity protecting networks from hacking, and data and privacy security ensuring our personal and organizational information stays confidential. Because an attack on a nation today is just as likely to come through a server farm as it is through a physical border crosser.
And what connects that whole shebang? Energy and infrastructure security. Access to cheap energy is literally the lifeblood of modern economics. But the uneven distribution of energy supplies globally has created some major vulnerabilities. The crucial point here is that our entire modern world relies on a vast energy supply to fuel everything, from transportation logistics right down to healthcare delivery. Protecting these grids from disruption or sabotage is a top-tier security priority that literally keeps the lights on.
Finally, Section 5, Global and Transnational Security. It's time for our biggest zoom out yet onto the global stage.
At this macro level, we are dealing with massive threats that literally do not care about borders. Environmental security is required to safeguard ecosystems against shared climate risks because pollution doesn't stop at a passport checkpoint, right? Transnational security tackles global networks of organized crime and trafficking. To handle all of this, we rely on international security, collective action through groups like the UN or the EU, ensuring mutual survival through binding treaties. And amidst all this rapid globalization, cultural and social security works hard to preserve our unique identities and social cohesion against extremism.
And honestly, this quote hits the nail on the head regarding how intertwined our modern world truly is. The source states, "Threats are interconnected. For instance, climate change can lead to food insecurity, migration, and conflict." Think about that domino effect for a second. A failure in environmental security, like a severe, prolonged drought, directly triggers failures in food security. That lack of food drives mass migration, which then cascades directly into a national security crisis for neighboring states. You simply cannot isolate one domain from the rest.
So bringing this all together, modern security isn't just a military force. It is a human-centric, highly collaborative web. Moving from that traditional militarized focus to a comprehensive approach requires integrated, fast-acting responses from multiple stakeholders all at once: governments, international organizations, civil society, the private sector. It's really about ensuring stability, continuity, and resilience across every single domain of human existence, from the microscopic right up to the global.
We've just mapped out 16 distinct domains of security that govern our modern lives, from the water you drink to the collective treaties of nations. So I gotta ask you, in this wildly complex, ultra-connected world we live in, how secure is your own multidimensional footprint? Take a look around your own life today and try evaluating your surroundings through this new lens. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep questioning the world around you.